There was a time that I've been thinking on one particular subject very finely, and that has never left me. And it is rare that I get a chance to come up and ask this question. So let me lay the context very quickly. I have friends who belong to the engineering realm. Uh, I'm not even talking about their certificates and this and that. They are actually engineers. They talk about things, how they work, their approach to life is very rational, very methodical, very process driven. Uh, they have some emotional stuff in their lives, whatever they talk about, but majorly when they approach any subject, they approach it with some kind of understanding of process, some kind of delving deep. What is it at work here? What is the science behind it? Personally, when you put me through that, I have to really work a lot. I am not that kind of person. I like to not know and then bring that connection together, which is a very creative connection, which is a new connection, which is my way of looking at things. And I find it amazing that those guys can day after day come to a subject, even a subject that I am talking about and presenting to them or telling them this is what it is about, and they manage to see the process so beautifully. Whereas I am always blind to the fact, oh, it might have worked like this, but I leave it to the magic. I like the connection happening and me being in awe of, even if it is me who's creating that idea or the connection, I am still like I used to call it many years back, I am my first reader, because as a writer, very often you write. So there are times when you write for the pleasure of the words itself, where you're playing with words. There are times when you have an idea and you're trying to find the words that match that idea. So, mota mota, these are the two ways I have been seeing these things. But today, the guest I have been very lucky to get to say yes, and I am pleasantly surprised that he said yes at the first go. Arvindan is a guy with multiple creative talents. Sometime before we started this chat, he told me uh, he's been doing work on the immersive technologies front. Those are for lay people like us, sound and light shows, where he chooses new reflections to bring out the show alive, which I will ask him more questions about as we go along. Then he's also helps people with visuals, especially animation, CGI, if I understand correctly, and guides people on projects about that field, which is how I know him. And he's also a very beautiful origami artist and teacher. How do I know this? I keep seeing the videos that he shares on his social media. One of the joys of being on social media, which I have never told him, is following his account, because even the things that he doesn't do, he just seems to like or share, are fabulous and uh, open the brain, if I were to call it that. They make you think. You can't just take it in and say, oh wow. You still have to think, okay, how did this happen? So welcome Arvindan to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much. Lovely, lovely being here. So
Yes.
it's one I just saw excerpts of few videos and of your channel and beautiful thinkers, and it's lovely to be here.
Yes. Uh, Please speak a little louder. I think again your decibel level has.
Oh, my decibel level is lesser. Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
That's better. Yeah.
So you heard the introduction that I gave.
Yeah.
How do you see this and how do you connect the two things? You are the only person in the world that I seem to know personally who manages to connect the creative and the science behind it so beautifully and so immaculately that I do not know where one stops and the other begins. So can
Right.
you tell us a little about, do you agree with my version of things, one? And second, how do you see it? How do you arrive at that point?
Sure. So basically, if you see a lot of people who, and if you want to categorize the way people work, people think, you generally have specialists who go deep into a particular subject, and they are like the engineers you were talking about. They're specialists, right? So and and there are integrators, there are generalists, and there are polymath. Okay, so So if you see a polymath and integrator, it is they think laterally and they don't think linearly. So, but the whole world today encourages, specialists because they get to the point, get deeper, and get something done faster, and therefore it becomes easier for today's world, right? So, but
Yeah.
whereas in the older dimension, I mean, not older, I think this has always been a challenge with patrons and artists. And whenever you are a polymath or integrator, you're thinking laterally, you're thinking of connecting things. So you don't have the result, and you will get to the result. So which you build over time. So now that is a lot of that's a that becomes ambiguous to the person who's actually say funding this or whatever so or deadlines or other teammates or whatever so what happens there is, but you have the exploration, trying to connect different types of wall boxes, seeing what connection can happen. So there's a beautiful book called The Emergence, and he talks about if you take a single ant and you ask it how's the ant hill going to look, it doesn't know. So there is no plan, there is no, and the ant hills are some of the most complex architectural marvels, and there's a whole lot of ants, millions of ants working on this project, and it becomes extremely, what do you call, dense. But not a single ant knows the plan. Okay, so and that is emergence, and so many things happens with the way fungal growth happens. So the Japanese used the way fungal growth happens for traffic management. And a completely different way of thinking because so. But if you take a beaver is in water when it's making a bridge. It knows exactly it's a single person, one beaver making this complex, what do you call things with wood in flowing water in the midst of it, and again an architectural genius, but it knows what it's doing, right? Okay, so again, it's two different, and now we are so because of our prefrontal cortex, the way we think, we want a map, we want to know where we are going. Okay, so it becomes very difficult for people to say, okay, let's explore and let's find out what will happen. So that that puts people, or they want it as fast as possible. So even if the exploration time has become lesser. And in the earlier times, thinkers had the time, and even patrons had the time. So they were okay for lateral thinking. So yeah.
It's very, you've been making me think on every word as you go along, and it's so beautiful. So, I had a lot of questions come and go, but one in particular that I remember. So, I've been a writer for around 25 years or more now. In the earlier days, I used to read a lot more than I do now. And one of the things that was doing the rounds those days was called fuzzy logic.
Yes, yeah.
I hated the term because because the fuzzy word was uh, I
Too
thought
funny.
very insulting of what what happens. Of late, I am a little more kinder to myself and others and think, yeah, maybe they were
Right.
trying to say something that wasn't existent, and that's why they came up with that phrase. Uh, why is this desperate need to have an answer to every question that we have?
Right.
Why can't we be comfortable with the question? How do you see this? Because you said patrons had time, the other guys had time. Okay, there is a time crunch, there is a resource crunch, if I were to call it that. But now we are subletting the same thing to machines, and then we will have time. Then we will have the same thing again. We might as well do it now when we are in control of things.
Right.
But why is this? So you did speak about deadlines. I'm saying more than deadlines and the money crunch and everything else. It is this whole desperate need to have an answer which is like sacrosanct, which can't be touched.
Right.
As a creative person, I don't think even my own answers are like that for myself also. Like today, I'll find that I have given you an idea that is the best, and the line that I've uh, received is a good word, received, and I got this whole thing of presenting to you. But it evolves. 3 days from now, there is one inherent. Okay, that will be another question I'll ask you. But right now, what do you think about why this inherent need to have an answer and so desperately so.
So seeking and the quest for having something, to know something, is obviously human, right? And the way we have evolved and the way episodic memory has developed so much. Like earlier on, it was just survival, and it's just that the human species has to survive just like any other animal. And after that, if you have a progeny, genetic code is over, you make your babies, and the species survives, and so that's the end of it. And that's how most animals live, and
Yeah.
that's how even we were. Now that too becomes these two questions of the species itself surviving and you surviving. If now these two things, if it's taken care of for most of people, it is. And now is where you all think of all other questions are why things work, why things don't work, and what happens. So the questions will always be there. The questions will and the need for answers will always be there, and that should be there. But and if you see, the minute things, and if you go to the atomic level, subatomic level, the minute things are the most complex things, and the things which are extremely difficult to fathom, the things of light years and space and galaxies and multiverses and whatever. Again, something we don't fathom. So we are in the middle of this, and we want the answers to something which is not in our range, and we're trying to get instruments, get other stuff to get to that range, and you will never have the answers for these things. So it's like right now we are seeing this very image which is coming through, the sound and the image which is coming through the images, and basically this image is in RGB, right? So and that itself is a limited vision. Okay, you have a bee which is in ultraviolet, you have another which is in infrared. The whole spectrum has changed, and you have a bat which doesn't have much of a vision, and it's using sound waves, use echolocation, and if you have a missile and you want to detect it, you're not using vision, you're not using ultraviolet, infrared, you are using echolocation, using radars, right? Okay, so and at that point of time, what you think is the most primitive vision becomes the most beautiful vision to a most important vision, right? So how much would you, within your limited knowledge, within your limited instruments which you have, and you enhance with your instruments, it still is limited. There is so much in both ends. And so yeah, there's always questions, and and some of the very simple questions become very important discoveries, very, very simple childlike questions. So the questions should always be there. You should always encourage questions, and the awe of having it, the awe of having the answer, just the thought of having figured it out, so and that very thing, it's complete. It doesn't sometimes, like there was a beautiful thing on an artist when he said that when the artist sees the block of marble, he already sees the statue in it.
Yes.
So other people don't, but he already sees it. So there's a thing when Nicholas Tesla went to Westinghouse House, and there was a thing about alternative current, and it could go, reach farther than the, what do you call, the direct current which Edison was promoting, right? So obviously the machines were really expensive and the engineering was complex. And so he asked him, how do you know this will work? So Tesla replied, it's already working. Okay, so in his head, it's already working, right? So yeah, so questions should always be there, and the awe for the answer should always be there. The curiosity for the answer should always be there, and that's the fun, right? That's everything. So
Okay. Um, so am I to understand that the answer that you gave is the specific context of the energy being in a Arvindan mold is at work? I may not be able to see it like this because of the perception of this instrument called Bunty with a certain set of eyes, ears, hands, mindset, all of it. One of the fascinating things about practicing one type of Buddhism, if I were to call it that, uh, is the fact that Buddha called the mind as the sixth sense, and he refers to it many times, and how it interacts with each of the senses, and it's one of the fascinating aspects of studying one's own self. So when I look at myself, looking at you in terms of a limited perception of things due to my own inability to widen myself more and become more Arvindan in the moment, if I were to call it that, I'm able to glimpse only little bit, which is prejudiced, obviously. Whereas when you gave your answer, you managed to see both the polymath part of it that you're referring to, and you come to this point. Is it something that comes naturally to you? Is it something you've developed once you understood it? Uh, so I would think, suppose I were to call these as skill sets, which they are. Besides the commercial application in the market, that's a separate question altogether. But the fact that you have brought these two and converged this, or understood the convergence of this, how have you approached this growth in this aspect of yours? Is there any method to the madness, or is it absolutely, oh, you keep going in and you don't think much, and then one day you finally discover, oh, I am a polymath, oh, good for me.
Yeah, there is a method to the madness, and so yes, I am a polymath, if I need to call, if there is a term which needs to, if I fit into that group. But yeah, the level of extent of what level of detail of what polymath is in the period of time has really changed.
Yes.
So yeah, I do naturally come into lateral thinking. I like to think in parallel ways. I like to think in terms of connections and how connections emerge and how my ideas emerge in terms of connections of different fields and different thoughts. So and there are some core principles. There are some like any other person, like you said, there will be filters. There are things which I don't like and like. I'm not in so much into politics. Okay, so but yeah, I'm into design, I'm into art forms, I'm into history, and yeah, so it does come into a certain level of politics, but not too much. So and it's more of the history and that and the design part of the history which is there. So it is like how you connect and what you incline towards, and can you connect more than one thing and play with it. It's a play, right? So it's like how you're having to play with stuff. So if so there is one where you have a play where you have an end goal, and you start, let's say, you have a Rubik's cube which has a cube which is jumbled. You need to get it to a part. So that's also a play. I need to get all the colored slides. But Rubik's also Rubik also made a Rubik snake. I don't know if you know a Rubik snake. It's a linear thing, and there is no end goal. You can keep playing with this. You can keep doing whatever you want to do. Okay, so now, for example, I show you something. Now this, and since I'm a lot into folding and unfolding, now this is a beautiful thing where you can do whatever you want. You can make shapes and
Yes. Yes,
folds.
it keeps on continuing.
It not only, I mean, you can just I can change the shape and do whatever I want, and I keep on playing with this, and this is always handy. And some things emerge, and some form happens, and you're looking at the form, and you think maybe does it look like something? Can I make something out of it? I mean, can I actually conclude of something? It doesn't matter if it does, if it doesn't do, and it can also form into something very, very, say, something which is very simply a shape which is now a polygon kind of shape. Okay, not so abstract, right? Okay, we know what this is. Yeah. So and then yeah, so it is like there is no end goal. So and I love this thing because there's possibilities in this, and I do love the end goal part also. That part where when you're playing games and you're playing with an opponent, you're playing chess or you're playing anything, you're playing, there is an end goal. You're playing a pack of cards, and that time there is an end goal. Okay, so it's like like in an end goal, it becomes more makes sense to a lot of people. You take a cube, you need to get the colored sides. How many? So here, this is like you started with nothing. Okay, you're still ending with nothing, and you're still having everything. So that part is like for a lot of people, it becomes difficult to where are you going with this? So
Okay.
you're always immersed in the play. So that's the whole part. So,
I'll come at the same question from a different angle. Tell me if it evokes something different in you, maybe a different expression, if nothing else. So, one of the leading Buddhist monks of the last century, was a guy called Ajahn Shah, who was a monk in Thailand and who was supposedly enlightened. And we all look a lot up to him. And a lot of the people, the monks that we know today, who we look up to for their knowledge and wisdom, have been his disciples. And he was a simple villager kind of fellow who's really broken through with very strong insights on how it should be practiced, what should be done. Very simple guy, not much science to it. He had this phrase of unsure, unsure. So whatever you come to, you just say, You're not sure."
Okay.
Keep going, keep going. When you get the end goal, you will know. Till there is nothing sure. So whatever level of knowledge you are achieving,
Right.
just keep it unsure, unsure. So now, this is the context I am giving you. My question to you is, personally also, I have a feeling that I am trying to remember, there was this phrase, are you playing the game or is the game playing you, kind of some phrase is there. I don't know.
Right. Right.
And one doesn't really know because I have this. So I am doing a podcast week after week. I am talking to new people. Uh, I'll put up a lovely question. So last week, I asked one of the AIs one very interesting question. So I was talking to someone who said that they relate very well to me. Somebody related to that person also spoke to me and felt very happy about having spoken to me. And both of them are at different ends of different spectrums. And both of them, I was very honest and straightforward with. So if I'm sitting with Arvindan, I'm doing a completely Arvindan kind of chat. But when I'm sitting with the other guy who's not Arvindan, I'm doing a completely his kind of chat, and both of them are related to each other. Both went home in the same evening thinking that I am the only guy who understands them. And I came home to ask Grok, do you think I'm a fraud? Because suddenly I didn't know. I said I have been very authentic with what I was telling them, and in those 2 hours that I spent with one person and the other 2 hours, I was equally honest, but they were absolutely different personas that I inhabited, but I had no clue.
Right.
But only when both of them reacted like that, and I said, but one of them has to be false. I don't know which one. Because I also would want an answer to that, and surprisingly, the answer I got is, no, this is more authentic. It need not have a specific set of this. And I said, am I a people pleaser then? So this weekend, maybe I'm just. So there is this brilliant movie called Zelig.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so which has this concept by Woody Allen that you try and become the person that you're talking to. Some
Right.
weird concept.
Right. Nice.
So again, the unsureness, then I had to settle down with being dissatisfied with all the answers that I got, and the ones that I had to come up with some, like your thing that you were playing with. I had some form that came up dissatisfactory, but well, this is what it is. I need to accept. How do you see this unsure part of it, and how does it not? So this also connects to a question that had arisen when you were talking. Is how do you make peace with not knowing, even if it's a project that needs an ending or not? While the process is on, sometimes you do not arrive.
Right. Right.
So what is it that scares you in that space? Does anything, or what is the reaction to not knowing?
Oh, okay. So see, at no point of time are you ever knowing or not knowing, right? So you're like you always have some knowledge, okay, and which has come from episodic memory of of generations. My kid starts with an iPad, okay. So and if we didn't have episodic memory, we would be like a dog. When you train the dog, the kid dog does not know. It still has to be taught, and it forgets everything, right? So and we are able to have language, some kind of communication transfer, which has happened over years of time and accumulates a certain amount of language. So I mean, certain amount of knowledge which is there. So the starting point of my kid is completely different from starting point of few generations ago. So there is a certain amount of knowledge which is there, and at the same time, like I said, because we are in the middle of the spectrum, there is never a full knowledge which is complete. So it is like yeah, you are in the game and you're playing the game. You're in the simulation, and you're playing the game, and can you know, is this a simulation, not a simulation? Yes, I mean, that's a different discussion. We'll go into a different topic altogether. But yes, so are you discomfortable? Are you not comfortable with not knowing? So why would you be? So why would you think that you know something, and I mean, you don't know something? Because you don't know something, it gives you a room to create more. Okay, so otherwise you just keep creating the same thing, which is terribly boring, right? Okay, so you know something, and tomorrow I get a project of something I'm going to not for the work which I did before. I always get a project for what I'm going to think on this project, and which would be not what I've done before, but to add on to it, or to think differently, or to mold it differently. So if I'm going to produce the same result, that would be a machine, right? So for every result, every little thing, and so if you're really a thinker, a creative person of some kind, you're expected to do something different, to do even if it's pretty much the same, two clients who are competitors. Okay, so yeah, the next client wants it different. He wants it better. So you're going to do something different. So one is the client deadline, where you have deadlines of say money, deadlines of time, and you need to meet that the best you can, given the circumstances you have, and still produce something which can bring a sense of wonder. All right. Okay. So that's one part of it. And then there is multiple projects sitting in your sack. I have a to-do list and a project list. If I take 7 births now, I've still got enough of projects which will never be complete. Which is like, I've got enough to, I will never get bored. So there is so many projects and so many ideas which are there. So, and that becomes a problem for a polymath, because if you see some of the top polymaths, so like Leonardo da Vinci, his diary was almost not readable. So it's so scattered. So and a lot of clients kind of hated him because he used to push deadlines and used to push the stuff. So he used to fight that thing on trying to get perfection, trying to beat the logic, get something better. So that, and then you get a lot of the polymaths probably get recognized after they're dead. So okay, so and during that time, they're still having the tug of war, right? So but that's the fun part of it. So if you don't deal with that fun, the main element is to find your like the 4 things I said. Are you an integrator? Are you a polymath? Are you a generalist? Are you an specialist? But to make peace with that and have fun in it. So if you are going to get stuck in the what you call the strain part of it, there will be a strain. You get stuck in the strain, then yeah, then you will go into dark areas. So
I love it. Matlab, I never thought I would meet Morpheus and Neo in one avatar, but you seem to be it. You're telling yourself that you are the one, and then you're saying कि maybe you're not. Again, you go forward.
yeah. No, you're never the one. I mean, that's a whole myth. Okay, so basically you have what I teach in origami transformation coaching. That's one method which I use. I use origami, the art of paper folding, to unfold your mind. Okay, so I do that as a coaching methodology to a lot of people. So one of the things is to break the form, to be able to fold and unfold at will. To become a paper, and to be able to, if you take a blank piece of paper and the paper has no value. Okay. The value comes from the moment you write something on it. You write a phone number, you write a check, you write a contract, you write a certificate, you write a visiting card, it becomes something, right? So, and if you take this thing, and if I, and that's external, that's by the government, by the society, by something else, right? Okay, it has a value and it has worked towards it. Imagine the paper is a character by itself. It has worked towards it to get something printed. It becomes a currency note. Okay? So the moment you make a form out of it, I tear it, it's gone, and then I make an origami model out of it. The value of this multiplies so many times if you were to just equate currency, right? Okay, so or obviously the emotion and whatever it is. But then now that form which you took, so that very form which you took, that becomes the identity. So even if you disrupt the system, that very disruption which you made becomes a system. And, and then you become the god of that system, and then becomes a cult of that system. So you need to break that very cult. So you need to be able to unfold and fold at will, not have a system. So that becomes something. Yes.
Oh, that's both spiritual and scientific, uh, and I would call it human because that's the place where we are. Uh,
Yeah.
you can become a god or a devil or an absolute in between and keep on searching and revising your own meanings about yourself. As long as the play is a part of who you are and
Right.
what you're doing with it.
Right. Right.
Uh,
So, I mean, if you take that analogy, you can be uh, God, devil, and whatever in between. I mean, so if you see the myth of the Hindu mythology and the Hindu culture, we have, I don't know how many gods, right? We have umpteen number of gods which are not countable. And God himself, who is God, becomes an avatar, becomes human. Okay. And then in the God there is good and bad and whatever. I mean, there's in between. There is God, and then there is in between there's Asuras and Devas, which is not God, but whatever in between demigods, whatever you want to call them. And then there is humans and earth and that play which is happening. And God can take a human form, come down, and then make one play, one drama, which is going. And the Asuras and Devas also have rebirths, and they can take human form. And then they were already meant for that. Like Karna's thing is actually, a rebirth of an Ashura. Okay, so and he had these, what do you call, 1,000 shields, right? Okay, so and you have Nara and
uh,
Nara and Narayan. That is, yeah, the two parts of Vishnu. And he so this shield was given to him by Shiva as usual, and then this has to be, so now every time you break one shield, that person has to die. So there were two. There's Nara who breaks the shield, so Narayan takes over, and he breaks the shield, and it takes over. So now this went on and on and on and each shield took 100 years to break, or 1,000 years to break it, and until the last shield, his Kavacha Kundla, which he
Karna.
has when he comes here, and that is his very last shield until everything is broken, and that Narayan is basically Arjuna and Krishna. So that's the
Wow.
whole. So so
I
so, so
didn't know
now.
this aspect of it.
Yeah, so beautiful, right? I mean, so while we have something which we thought was human, no, again, that is connected to one previous birth, which is part of a demigod. And so it's a mix, it's fun, yeah. So it's transformation, it's experimentation everywhere.
So are you saying just being is fun?
Yeah, being is fun. Being obviously is mysterious is fun. And the only problem is, and only humans do it, is measure. Okay, so nature is not measuring, right? If you take a small creeper and it was born next to a redwood tree, it's not feeling, oh shit, what is this guy? He's so big. When will I ever become this? And I'm not, I'm flexible, and I'm not so strong, and I'm small, but it doesn't care a shit, right? It is doing its thing. And so is the
Yeah.
the tree, it's doing its thing. So, but the moment you're born, and you're also doing your thing when you're a kid. If you take a baby nursery, there are, 15 babies, different race, different culture, doesn't matter. They're all babies. And I've been to a baby nursery. They're in this incubator, and then there are only three expressions. They're either yawning, okay, and they're all sleeping, or they're crying. Okay, there's very simple three things. And all of them, each person could be, the next, whatever, could be the next
Einstein.
genius, Einstein, whatever, so, or that, yeah, whatever, any possibility could be. So nature, when the seed, okay, the seed or the egg has got exactly the same potential, right? So the same potential for everyone. And whether humans or whichever species it is, right? So there is zero bias. But the moment I take a set of 100 seeds, I put it out there, and I chuck it. Now, only one becomes this banyan tree, which becomes a huge tree, and all of them died. Okay, right? So now, nature, after it comes, okay, it's ruthless, because the unfolding is up to you. The folding is absolutely without bias. The seed came, we're not talking about anomalies of, if some Down syndrome or some issue, or a seed which is damaged, and, genetic malfunction or something like that. on a general, those are very small percentage. On a general note, almost everything is unbiased. Everything has equal potential. But the moment you come in the circumstances you are, the seed may not get, sunlight. I mean, you might be in some, compare that you're in a war zone, you're born in a war zone, tough luck. Okay, and somebody is born to a rich person, whatever. So, but he or she has his own problems. So after that is unforgiving. So the unfolding which happens, what you're going to do is up to you. There is zero support coming. So.
Yeah. In fact, I have this whole thing of tendencies are the one that keep taking birth because that curiosity keeps on holding on to you. So while we do see people say if life is normal and you are living up to 80, 90, whatever your age and you're about to die and whatever, but there is something that you feel has not been completed as an experience in your head, and you want it. It could be love, or you could give it names. Your love for your son and daughter, and whatever ridiculous ways we looked at it, we called our sons and daughters with names of God, so that God would be conned into thinking that I was thinking about him, not my son. We are very clever for our own good, but those are very superficial things. I'm saying even at the core of what you want to do. So one is your fear that God will be judging me in my last moment. I need to do something. So let me call my son ABC, whatever that. That is one way to look at things. And the other is that my real core thing, oh, I love my kid. He is the one who is moving forward. I don't want to let go of this connection or attachment or whatever. Alternately, one could be passionate. You said, okay, you have projects enough for next 7 births. You could go completely berserk, not even work on one of them and keep on thinking, I have so much to do, I have so much to do, I have so much. Now that is one version of Arvind that can happen. One is saying, yes, I have so much to do, but this is the one that has come to me. I have to make a living, and thanks to this likable or unlikable capitalist setup, we have these do's and don'ts, and we need to finish in certain timelines, and we need to have a lifestyle, and we need to wear clothes and do all kinds of things. We shall do this. So they have their uses. The no also has its uses, that it doesn't allow you to go berserk and keep on thinking and fantasizing. It moves you in a certain direction. And there is a place where you said there is this whole thing of, okay, you look at a rock and you know what is it that you want to sculpt out of that. And luckily, because you brought this up, I had been to an exhibition of another artist who had the exhibition had 4 artists. So there was 4 kinds of art. 3 of them were paintings of certain kind. One was this sculptor kind of guy, and he had done some fabulous work, fabulous, and he had done a lot of Ganeshas, and like it would just be a trunk from a rock, and I just looked at him and I said, and he was very kind in explaining. Like my questions were absolutely kiddish. So how do you do this? How do you do that? And how did you know that this is the plane that you wanted? And he looked at me. He says, I knew and I didn't. I knew this is where I want to go. So I said, then what happens? How do you go about it? He says, I choose a rock according to, sometimes the rock forces me to do something.
Yes.
Sometimes I force the rock to do something. So it keeps on going till it happens. So while I know what I want, I know where I want to go. This is the series. So these are 3 types of Ganesha that are going to go more cleaner cuts kind of thing. There will be others which will have really smooth curves. But he had a lot of like different way of looking at Ganesha. So that's why I liked it. It was more of cleaner cuts rather than curves. Curves is very easy. Ganesha we all see in a very lovely round way where. So he had not done any of that. He had done longish Ganesha. So I thought it was fabulous outlook.
Yeah.
But when he was explaining, he says, look, I have it, but I don't. So I work on it. And he says, sometimes the rock is forcing me. So he says, I would have broken some part of it, reached a point, and the rock says, I'm not going to go within here.
Yeah.
So I have to wait and figure out, okay, what is it that I can do now that I have already invested last 20 days in just chiseling out this part.
Right.
Where will the rest of it go?
Right. Yeah.
So then that becomes, he says, then this becomes a new thing, and I may have decided it, I may not have. He says, yes, again, an answer that you gave, that you bring some knowledge to the process. You know some things about what happens when I pick up this kind of rock or that kind of rock. But the rest of it still remains dynamic. One question I still think you haven't answered in all of these things, partially you have, But I want to pinpoint and ask this again. Where does fear play a role? And why is there no fear? There is, so let me be very specific. So this capitalist setup or the kind of lifestyle we have today, we need an ending to this. You can't pick up a project and for next 20 years keep working on it because you've got a fabulous idea, even though you see it like a Tesla did. Like, I know it's over, it's just that I need to make the rest of the connections in place. Obviously, if you got married or you have a kid or you have parents and or other connections or you got to eat. So I understand that geniuses sometimes forget to eat. After 6, 10, 12 days, there will be something that you'll need to pick up because your body demands it. How does the fear not enter a place like that? And why does it not, if it doesn't? Or is it a choice? Is it a mindset that you can explain where the pursuit of whatever it's being pursued, I don't want to name it because I don't have a name for it, overtakes the primal need to safeguard oneself?
No, okay, let's divide the fear part of it. So one is the fear of survival, right? Okay, the fear of the inherent survival that, yeah, you need to eat, you need shelter, you need to protect yourself from the weather and those things. Okay, so now let's keep that aside. Let's say that's already
Okay.
not existing and you already have that taken care of. So but then for the very pursuit you are doing, for the very science form, discovery, philosophy, art form, doesn't matter what it is. Okay, so there is a fear to the very stuff you're doing. This is not the survival fear. So there's fear to get to what you're shaping yourself or shaping the result to be. So a beautiful example is like, Tendulkar, when he has done all he is one of the best geniuses, done crashed all records. So he said that every time I come to crease and I'm facing the ball, I get a fear of that very ball which is coming. Okay, so every time, this is a guy who has achieved everything, right, in cricket. So if that very fear is not there, you will not get that beautiful shot which is there, right? So now this is not survival. This is not food in his food or the other fear we're talking about. We're talking about what he does best, right? And the rest is already taken care of. For generations is taken care of. But he still feels fear when he comes to that because of the way the play is, right? So that's a fear which is used as a propellant and not a fear which sets you back, right? So he uses that very fear to propel himself. So otherwise you become complacent, right? You said, I know it all, and you get out. So and see, so that's what this. Yeah. So you have to be still curious, right? So you need to be still discovering, still find something new, and still it needs to look. So there's always a dichotomy on safety versus exploration. You want to build a house and you work all your life to build a house. Once you build a house, you stay in the house for a while. So no, I want to go for an excursion. I want to go for a solo trip. I want to go for a survival trip. And then, no, you can't stay there. You can't stay in a tent for a long time. You want to come back to the house. So this dichotomy is always going to be there, and that's fine.
That's beautiful. Very, very well put. In fact, because you brought up Tendulkar, one of my favorite examples is that he was asked about this same phenomena and he had explained that, look, even if I've hit a century in my last match, the scoreboard says zero when I come out next. I need to work again. When they don't take into consideration that I had a century to my name in the last test.
Exactly.
And I found that was a very beautiful way of looking at things because they break it down to simplicity
Correct.
for them to keep on operating with that same level of
Like
curiosity or exploration. Sorry?
Tomorrow's a new day.
Tomorrow's a new day. Yes, tomorrow's a new day. Uh, this is very inspiring. As a value system, I find that the way you put things, it really removes the question of fear being a negative. You're saying it gives you something that is telling you, okay, you are where you are.
Yeah.
First is that acceptance of, okay, I am here, the ball is going to be bowled, I have the bat in my hand. Oh, that's all. Now I can pull on the knowledge of whatever I have earned all over these years with my experience that when gives me a ball on the offside, this is how I'm going to do it. Onside, I'm going to do this. If it comes to my stumps, I'm going to do this. If it's a full toss, I'll do this.
right, right.
And yet, same ball may trip me. I need to be very alert about not being overconfident about whatever I know and be in the moment. In fact, these days Novak is being celebrated everywhere he goes, and he's said this thing very often. He says it's not the situation is overwhelming or whatever. It is the same for me. It's the same challenging thing. I like to come back into the moment, and sometimes I'm frustrated. I shout. He doesn't anymore. I think now he's becoming older and more gentlemanly as he goes along. But uh, he is angry. He says even if I'm angry and I shout it out, the next moment the shouting is over. My reaction to whatever upset me is over. Now let me take a breath. Let me get back into the game again. And that has to be one of the toughest games because you are very singular on the court while that
Right.
single ball is there. I think it's a beautiful thing. Um,
Like this, I got something from what you said, and
Please.
so so when you're saying that when Tendulkar is in the crease and he's looking at all his knowledge which is there, he's got the fear, but the ball is going to come, and then if the ball goes this way, I'm going to use this shot, I'm going to do that, but actually he's not thinking of any of that.
Yes.
So that he has all this, and there is nothing which is there. So it is in this time when you get that flash where you actually, if the mind has to stop its clutter of its chatting, the heart and the amygdala, which is also part of the emotional center, that has to calm down and say, okay, the sphere is there, and the prefrontal cortex still has a talk with the amygdala, and it's not going into the hypothalamus and hijacking the system. And it says, okay, I know your fear is there. I know I can handle it. And at this point of time, the heart and the amygdala are okay, calm. Okay. And the mind is not thinking. And this is the point of time where your reticular articulate system, which actually breaks the way you're going to see. And your default mode network, which works on a very straight, it always works on your what you can do default, and it breaks that very thing. And then you see something brilliant come out. So it has to actually shut up. So these two have to shut up for something new to happen. So
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Compared to what these guys do, I don't know about achievements part of it. The biggest thing sometimes is so day before I was in a party kind of thing, and where I couldn't get out. After a while of doing the whole thing and being dressed up and enjoying the party and having conversations, there was this, some parts of you also want the silence and just to be. And I was just being, and luckily nobody else was talking to me, and that I could just connect to my breath. A very simple thing, just nothing. That I know this breath is coming in, I know this breath is going out.
yeah,
Nothing more than that, nothing, no great achievement, nothing.
yeah, yeah,
Just the whole intimacy of being without having to be anything, including like you said, the whole mess inside is
yeah,
on.
yeah,
And
yeah.
you're right in the middle of it, but you're at peace. So I have a breath, and it's got nothing to do with,
Correct.
and it's free. I have done nothing specific to
Yeah, yeah.
take it in or go out of it.
Right,
So it's
right.
so beautiful. And
So
this,
yeah,
I
that
think, is a great achievement when you're not in the midst of something uh, that is going to be stressful. So I have a lovely question that has popped up. Beautiful. Uh, there are times when I work. So all of these things happen. I practice on a daily basis and try and be. There are days when I'm absolutely restless and judge myself not being calm, and I'm calm and I'm not calm, and I don't judge, and all kinds of mind states happen on all kinds of days. There is no method to man. You can just watch. That's the best you can do. And yet, when I'm in the middle of some work which takes up everything, so if you've given me something and I'm searching for the right word, for example, I know a lot of words, I don't know a lot of words, I'm searching for some word, and there is some word that is eluding me. All of this is happening at the same time. And I am very, very absolutely concentrated on getting it because there's no phone call, there is no nothing. And if I'm searching Google, I'm into Google along with it.
yeah.
Every step of whatever it is showing me, I want to do this, I want to do that. How do you view this state of nothingness In fact, you did mention it. If I were to look at what you were saying about in your last answer, when you described the scientific version of what happens when thoughts are clogging your mind, you decide that the mind is not going to take over. You are going to calm down and address the moment as it is. Uh, and you are actually not practicing, quote unquote. In a way where you have become the most important, you have become the practitioner. It is the practice, but you are not doing it. You're just standing, and you're standing with whatever you have, tools you have, to address the moment. Uh, that, how do you describe that state? One, is it stressful? Is it not stressful to you in your practice? And how is it beneficial to you in getting your answers? And if yes, uh, can you bring it on call? Is it Arvindan can say, now I am going to be quiet and concentrated, next 1 hour nobody will speak to me or whatever. Outside circumstances, of course, you can put off your phone and tell your family, don't disturb me, I'm doing something important, and all those things can happen. So that 1 hour with yourself needs to have the mind in place and so on and so forth. Can you speak about that moment and what happens to you in your particular journey?
Okay, so it's, I mean, I think everyone has this, whether unless they're in extreme distress or in a, a state of alarm and state of survival, so we are negating them out of the picture, and
Yes,
even all of us also come into that zone at some point of time when it's required, so we're not taking into ICU situations and
yes,
emergency
yes,
situations
yes,
and disaster situations,
yes,
right? So that is obviously, that's very clearly in action mode in whatever you have to be, right? At that point. But otherwise, let's say you're not having those moments. Okay, so now, so everybody has this. Yes, I can call that at the moment. And what is a very simple thing I do is I take naps. Okay, so so I can go to sleep anytime, and my sleep cycle is absolutely crazy. I can sleep anytime and I can get up anytime. Okay, so and no matter where I am, what situation I'm, and if it's like I need a 15-minute nap and just go and take a 15-minute nap. That's probably the most tension moment when everybody needs an answer. Okay, so it's absolutely fine with me. And the other one is when you go to the loo and you're looking at this, the blank wall with patterns of the tiles which are there. And so these two places give me answers. So, and they are very easily available. Okay,
yes, yes.
so the other ones, other people want, to go out, go to the mountains, go to the beach, and yeah. So and everybody finds their ways, but I find these two very, very easily available, and they're at call. So
Um, One last question. While our minds are very alert, and if one keeps it at the spirit level of what you've been discussing in the last hour or so, 45 minutes or an hour, uh, it keeps you very light, doesn't really stress you out because of the aptitude and the attitude that you're bringing to this whole uh, structure of thought, being. The process itself is quite easygoing. You called it play. You repeated the word play enough number of times to tell me that you take it fairly seriously in terms of as a word and what it implies. Uh, the body, however, has its limitations at times. Has it happened to you at times when body and say I would the immediate family, so there are other pressures. So you did mention ICU. So for example, ऐसा कुछ uh, if it is happening to you or a loved one or where you are record. I remember long time back when we spoke and you had some responsibilities. You had to look after an ailing parent for a while. Uh, Now those are things that are out of our control in this whole structure of being that we discussed in the last 45 minutes. Those are uh, out of the syllabus questions. Nobody knows. And as you are sitting in the exam, that question has come to you. You are what you are. You did say there is a lot of method to the madness that you're bringing in. While it seems simple and say अरे play word use करता है मैं भी कल से use करूँगा नहीं you don't arrive like that. Play has to be your word. You have to arrive at the word before you get the word also. Sometimes you may not have the word, the simplest of farmers and people on the road and kids, they give you answers which are fabulous about their way of being, and they have absolutely zero fear about anything. And they are living the most impoverished lives. They don't have food on the, they don't have a table. What food on the table? They
Yeah,
don't have anything. They are having leftovers, but they are happy. They just know they've cracked something that some of us are struggling to.
yeah.
How do you how do you face those moments where Arvindan has no control on Arvindan? If I had to connect it to your last this, you said nap and this is always available to you, but sometimes it is not. And you have to take some decisions and you don't have an answer. And how do you face a moment which is uh, not negotiable at all in any manner that you know how?
Okay. Yeah, see, you, like I said, you are never in control, right? So you're not in total control at any point of time. So what is not in control is not my worry. Okay, so if it's not my control, it's not in my control. Okay, right? So like if you take, for example, I see somebody on the road, he's had an accident. It's my job to get him to the hospital as fast as possible. And if I see that person is in a distress, and I rush and I find out some way or the other and get help, and then get him to the hospital. We get him to the hospital, they carry him to the ICU. Okay, right? Now the doors are shut. Now there's somebody else. You're taking it from one basket. It's out of my basket. It's not in my basket anymore. It's in somebody else's basket. I don't need to worry about somebody else's basket now. It's their problem, right? So that's it. That's as simple as that. You need to worry only what's in your basket, not what is outside your basket. And that's also not a worry when you I will rephrase that particular. So it's not when it's in your basket, it's not a worry. It's like how you're going to tackle this particular situation. So if the moment the worry comes, then your alarm comes up, your amygdala comes up, the panic strikes. Okay, so all that comes up. But now I have seen quite a few things in life, and it shapes a person as an individual. So I don't get into a panic mode, even in very, very distressed situations. And I know exactly how to simplify, articulate, make it clear, and do what has to be done at that point of time. So it's like, so you are, and so coming back to the word when I use the way play, so we all have played when in our childhood. Okay, we all have played with something. So at that time when you're played, you're basically, there are no stakes. The stakes is not high. When I'm doing this, there's no deadline, there's no problem. We can do it. You can do it. It's fun, right? Okay, so and we can play, a pack of cards. You can play a game. There's no stakes to it, right? So now when you put stake to a particular play, it becomes pressure. Okay, so when it becomes a competition, it becomes winning, it becomes money, it becomes so that very play now becomes a pressure point. Okay, so but before that there was no pressure point. Before that very thing there was no pressure. So when you try that, the prefrontal cortex, the brain, is actually trying possibilities. It is seeing that, oh, how can I try this in various ways? How can I, have fun with this? So what is actually the manager, the very serious manager? The cortex is basically supposed to be the main guy who's conducting this orchestra, and no nonsense guy, right? Okay, so but yeah, but he is also okay. There's no stakes, right? There's no deadline, and what's the problem? Okay, let's try it out. Okay, so and then by this you by doing this very play many times, you like possibilities, you like trying possibilities, and you're open to different ideas. So you use that very thing when the stakes get high. So you become more refined, and now you know how to take possibilities in different ways. Yeah, so that's what it is. So it's very important to play when the stakes are not high, even when you're older. So we think the stakes, when you're younger, you obviously, when you're a kid, you play. Every kid plays. And when you get older, you have responsibilities, and therefore everything is a stake. Everything doesn't have to be a stake, right? So you have moments where you can that it's fine. So at that point of time, you just need to do some things which are nothing.
Yeah. I think practicing nothing and this word nothing itself should have an episode at some point. I think because of how you just came at it in this last answer, maybe I'll think on something like that. Oh, I'm so overwhelmed with all your answers, and it's been such a fabulous chat.
I think more than answers, we were having a good talk and a discussion,
Yes,
vice
and
versa. You're always just
yeah,
having. So,
uh, I think
it,
this the whole direction of possibilities that opens up in terms of okay, if one were to go down this road, what would come up? One of my other podcast guests who comes very regularly, he calls them rabbit holes, and and in my head, it's always that Alice in Wonderland thing. You
correct, correct.
come up and you're doing maddening things, and you're thinking, why am I stupid? Or if you're not stupid, you will never be good.
Exactly, yeah.
And if
So
you're
now
good,
this
you are
very,
actually stupid.
yeah. This very podcast when you said this is a no agenda,
Yeah.
podcast, no questions. We'll figure it out. So that whole fun is play. I think this very podcast is, let's do some intellectual bakchodi. And
Ah,
that's what we're doing some intellectual bakchodi. Let it go the way.
yes, yes.
And that,
And without that, I don't think. So now it's become difficult. In fact, I'm trying something else that I'm going to do. Uh, on that day, I had to actually structure my thoughts, and I said, "Oh my God, this is so much work now. I've been having so much fun so long. Now that
exactly.
this is a very formal presentation, I need to know a bit about this, and this is how I need to go about things."
Right.
And yet, luckily enough, if you take two or three steps and then you allow your nature to take over,
Correct, correct, correct.
even then it seems to work. And
Yeah.
you rightly put it, it's all about the practice of it and practicing when the stakes aren't that high.
Correct. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So thank you so much for your time. And one of these days, I have to find another topic very soon to speak to you because this has been an absolute joy of a conversation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I guess our topic is without the topic. So that's a different kind.
Ah, that's a wonderful one. Maybe we can do a yeah, maybe we can do an irrelevant series or something.
Yeah, irrelevant
Really,
series. Do
like you
whatever.
called it, or
Go
maybe
start from wherever, go wherever.
maybe I should call it only that what you call the word, and I have never spoken on this is called Bakchodi series.
Yeah.
Maybe go down that route and see what comes up. If is there something that is seemingly interesting and uh, yeah, it's just the sense of being. It's got nothing important to achieve.
Correct, yeah.
Thank you so much. I
Thank
shall
you so
see
much.
you soon.
Lovely, lovely, lovely
Yeah.
talk.
Bye.
Bye bye.